The first rule of Fight Club, you don't talk about Fight Club. Okay, lads. Imagine a world where you're stuck in a dead-end job, buying things you don't need, trying to impress people that you don't even know. And imagine blowing that world up. Be some satisfaction in many ways, wouldn't it? That, my friends, is Fight Club. That's what this is all about. It's a masterpiece that grabs you by the collar, shakes you awake, and dares you to ask, am I living or am I just existing? And if you haven't seen it yet, you're missing out on one of the most mind-bending, adrenaline-pumping, soul-searching experiences in film history. Wow. Now, Fight Club isn't just a movie, lads. It's a rebellion wrapped in a psychological thriller. And, on the surface, it's about a man played by Edward Norton. He's tired of the more boring modern day life office job, right? The guy's going crazy. He's stuck in a consumer-driven existence, numbed by the IKEA catalog shopping, and he doesn't sleep. And then in comes Tyler. Brad Pitt, baby. I mean, this is one of the movies that really put Brad Pitt on the map as like a Hollywood heartthrob, and probably one of the coolest, most charismatic Hollywood actors of all time. Genuinely, this was one of his best. And it's together, the two lads, they ignite a movement, Fight Club. And it's a raw underground community where men pummel each other, not just for glory, but to feel alive. And here's the twist. Tyler's not just challenging the system, he's challenging the narrator's entire reality. Now, why do you think I'm calling it narrator? Well, you'll see. Fight Club isn't just a movie about fighting, it's about fighting back against society, conformity, and even yourself. Now, let's paint the picture, lads, here. The background. Directed by David Fincher. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic directing. Fight Club, it was released in 1999, so we're going way back here, lads. A time when society was kind of teetering on the edge of the new millennium, right? It was the perfect storm of cultural dissatisfaction, you could say. And people were questioning corporate greed, materialism, the empty promises of capitalism, genuinely. And Fincher brought that to life with his signature dark, gritty style in this movie. And the movie dives into themes of identity, masculinity, mental health, all wrapped up in razor-sharp dialogue and unforgettable visuals, lads, really. And let's not forget the legendary Helena Bonham Carter. I mean, if you think this woman is mad, woo, 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 the chaotic wild card who stirs up both love and destruction. And then the story takes a wild turn, lads, a dramatic 180. It grows beyond its basement roots. It starts as a raw primal escape for a handful of men, transforms into a full-blown anti-establishment movement called Project Mayhem. And Tyler's philosophies become way more extreme, more dangerous. The narrator, our guide through this madness, it starts to unravel. And the tension builds as the lines between what's real and what's imagined blur. We, the audience, we're kind of pulled into the chaos, questioning everything we know about the characters, the story, and even ourselves. And then the moment of truth hits us like a freight train. I'm not giving anything away, by the way. Okay? But there is one of the greatest twists of all time that you'll ever see in a movie. All I'll say is this. It flips the whole movie on its head. Suddenly every fight, every conversation, every act of destruction takes on a new meaning. And it's not just about rebellion. It's about self-destruction as a path to self-discovery. And, no, we're going to leave it there on that part. Now, then at the end of this twist, lads, you do sort of wonder, was this all worth it? What was this all about in many ways? Fight Club doesn't hand you answers. It forces you to wrestle with its meaning. And, it's about breaking free from shackles, but it's also a cautionary tale about losing yourself in a process. Fight Club, it's more than a movie. It's a mirror, lads. It forces us to confront our own lives, our choices, and the systems we buy into without question. I mean, I think you'd be amazed. Like, if you're really paying attention to this movie, you'll be amazed how people can actually get brainwashed in real life. And now I know we're talking about a movie here, but you know, if you're really focusing on watching, observing this movie, you go, oh my God, man, you know, this happens all the time. And it's a bit disturbing. I mean, it's gritty, it's provocative, it's utterly unforgettable. So if you haven't seen it yet, lads, what are you waiting for? But remember the first rule. And once you watch it, you'll never stop thinking about it. Peter. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Silence of the Lambs. Start your engines, because if you watch this movie, if you haven't seen it already, you're about to see one of the greatest villains of all time, and he will stay with you in your dreams. This is the Silence of the Lambs. You know, in a nutshell, it's not just a thriller, it's a psychological deep dive into the mind of two monsters. And I mean monsters. One, a serial killer. The other, a genius psychopath who might just be your only hope to stop the other guy. And if you haven't seen it, buckle up, because this movie will keep you up at night questioning the nature of evil and the fragility of your own sanity. The heart of the Silence of the Lambs, lads, is its chilling conflict. Now, you've got Clarice Starling, played by a brilliant Jodie Foster. She won the Oscar for this, for her performance, and Anthony Hopkins won the Oscar for his performance. You've got two, all right, Best Actor and Best Actress in the same movie, win at the exact same year. So, I mean, this is what we're dealing with here, how good this is. And, you know, you've got what would I say? The chilling conflict, right? Young Clarice is tasked with catching a guy called Buffalo Bill. Now, Buffalo Bill is a complete psychopath too. But then you've got the brutal serial killer, Buffalo Bill, who kidnaps women to skin them alive. And to understand the mind of a killer, she has to face another, Hannibal Lecter. That's where Anthony Hopkins comes in, a brilliant genius psychiatrist turned cannibalistic murderer. The problem? Lecter is manipulative, terrifying. He enjoys toying with people as much as he loves eating them. Clarice needs his insights, but every conversation with him feels like walking a tightrope in a hurricane, man. You don't know where it's going to end up. And can she outsmart Hannibal long enough to catch Buffalo Bill? Or will she become just another pawn in Lecter's twisted games? Now, this movie's an oldie. 1991, would you believe it, lads? 1991, and it's still a classic to this day. It's based on Thomas Harris' novel of the same name. It's only one of 3 films in history to win all Big 5 Oscars. Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, and Adapted Screenplay. Really, we're talking the big leagues here, right? And why? Because it's not just a horror movie. It's a masterclass in tension, character development, psychological warfare. Anthony Hopkins, honestly, he delivers one of the most terrifying portrayals in cinema history. And here's the kicker. He's only 16 minutes of screen time in this movie. 16 minutes, man. And, you know, Jodie Foster, equally unforgettable. A young woman navigating a world dominated by men while facing her own inner demons. The tension starts, right, lads, when building the moment Clarice steps into the prison to meet Hannibal for the first time. This is where it all just kicks off, man. It's not just the locked doors of the eerie, quiet dungeon. It's Lecter himself standing motionless in his cell. Can you imagine a man who just stands there, completely frozen, looks right ahead, and he can burn through your soul, the icy blue eyes? From their first exchange, it's clear that this isn't just a battle of wits, man. It's psychological warfare. Hannibal, he doesn't just answer questions. He dissects Clarice, exposing her vulnerabilities, really strips her down, and her fears, her childhood trauma. Meanwhile, the clock is ticking as Buffalo Bill claims more victims. The FBI scrambles to find him, but it's clear that Hannibal holds the key if he's willing to share it. Now then we get to the climax of the show. I remember as a kid, lads, I watched this and this scared the bejesus out of me for weeks. I couldn't get this out of my head, and I honestly, I still feel like that child right here, right now. It killed me, man. Like, the movie climaxes hits you like a freight train. I'm not going to give it anything away, but I'll just say this. Clarice, she follows the breadcrumbs that Hannibal's left her, okay? She finds herself in Buffalo Bill's house, and all I'll say is, when Buffalo Bill cuts the lights, oh my God. And then just to really have the icing on the cake, just after a horrific, chilling, frightening climax, you got the old Hannibal again, the jockey himself, leaving us with one of the most iconic lines in movie history, though. I'm having an old friend for dinner. I mean, my God, it's a chilling reminder that evil doesn't just disappear. It's out there, lads, waiting for its next move. So, to wrap it all up, The Silence of the Lambs isn't just a movie, lads. It's an experience, a terrifying experience, a thought-provoking, nerve-shredding experience. It's a study of good versus evil, predator versus prey, order versus chaos. It'll make you question a lot of things, your own fears, your own darkness, and just how far you'd go to catch a monster. Do you have to become the monster to catch the monster? And if you haven't seen it, you're missing out. And, I'll warn you, once you hear Hannibal Lecter say, "Hello, Clarice," you'll never forget it. Peter. Wow. Picture this. Earth is dying, crops withering away, dust storms are choking the land like the Sahara Desert on a really bad sandstorm, and humanity is on the brink of extinction, lads. This is what's going on in the movie Interstellar. Now imagine being told that the only hope for our survival lies beyond the stars, a leap into the unknown where time, space, love bends in ways you can't even imagine. This is what happens in this movie, and let me tell you, if you haven't seen it, you're depriving yourself of one of the most profound, emotional, and awe-inspiring cinematic experiences of all time, and Hans Zimmer just slam dunk the score of this movie. Interstellar doesn't just dabble in conflict, lads. It thrives in it. The Earth is turning into a kind of a barren wasteland as we're speaking. Humanity never been closer to extinction, but the real kicker is the only way out is a wormhole near Saturn. Now listen, lads, you've probably heard me say this before. I'm not a sci-fi geek, right? I detest the stuff. But again, actually, you know what? This is one of the ones. And again, this is Christopher Nolan, right? Behind this. So this isn't really a sci-fi movie in many ways. And, it leads to a potential habitable planets light years away. Now you got Matthew McConaughey, who's just brilliant in this movie. He's an ex-pilot turned farmer. Who's tasked with leading this impossible mission. And I mean, it really is, lads. You're pretty much thinking it's a suicide mission. But here's the gut-wrenching part. To save the world, Cooper's got to leave his children behind. So, I mean, the stakes really are turned up for this guy. It's unreal. And knowing he may never see them again. And add to that kicking time bomb of space-time, every hour on a distant planet equals years back on Earth. So, like, believe me, wait until you see this and get your head around it, okay? Like, every second, as far as I remember, lads, every tick when they go to one certain planet, okay? It's like a second, and that's worth, I think, 7 years back home. It's crazy. So wait until you see it. Just get your head around that one. It's madness. Interstellar is the brainchild of Christopher Nolan. Of course, the man, the myth, the legend behind The Dark Knight. Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises, Inception. I mean, you just know it's going to be good if he's behind this. It was out in 2014. Now, it combines cutting-edge science, which, by the way, it'll take you probably about 20 times to kind of figure out what at least half of the movie what they're on about, unless I'm just a complete dumbass, but yeah, maybe that's it too. But Nolan works closely with physical Kip Thorne to ensure the deception of black holes, wormholes, and time dilation were scientifically accurate, which is awesome, you know? This guy doesn't mess around, man. This movie isn't just entertainment, it's a crash course in theoretical physics that leave your brain buzzing. Hans Zimmer's haunting, hypnotical musical score. It doesn't just complement the story, it amplifies it in such an unbelievable way, pulling you into the epic journey that is Interstellar. And then the journey through the wormhole begins, right lads? And I mean, the real stakes go through the roof here. You got Cooper, his land on a planet near a black hole where time moves so slowly, lads. You know, that, like I said, 7 years in Earth. I'm thinking to myself, well, get your head around that, honestly. You know, and then disaster strikes, a colossal tidal wave. I mean, wait until you see this on the screen. It's insane, right? Cooper's children, Matthew McConaughey, are now grown. They're angry, they're heartbroken, believing he abandoned them. The emotional weight is crushing. And then he's got that added pressure of how do you actually save humanity when it means losing the very people you love? But the most mind-bending conflict here, lads, comes near the end when Cooper, he hurls himself into a black hole to ensure humanity's survival. And this guy just goes all in at the poker table. This isn't just some flashy CGI moment now, lads. This is the heart of Interstellar, let me tell you. And inside the black hole, Cooper finds himself in a weird fifth-dimensional space, like a tesseract where time is a physical dimension. I mean, the guy's a jockey, like. He can see every moment of his daughter's life, past, present, all at once. And here's the kicker. Cooper realizes that the mysterious ghost his daughter always talked about, it was someone else all along, and I won't say who, communicating through this tesseract using gravity. And then the sheer emotional and scientific complexity of this moment is enough to leave you reeling. Through an act of pure love and sacrifice, Cooper sends critical data back to Earth, allowing humanity to escape the dying planet that it was forming into. He's rescued, only to discover that his daughter is now an old woman. Again, another weird thing to get your head around. He saved humanity, but lived her entire life without him. I mean, kind of gets you going, man. I gotta admit. And it's a bittersweet reunion, reminding us that time and space, it may separate people, but love transcends as well. Oh, okay, before I start taking out the Kleenex here. All right. Interstellar, it's not just a movie, it's a journey, lads. And it makes you question the boundaries of science, the resilience of humanity, the power of love. It's visually stunning, emotionally raw, intellectually stimulating. If you've ever looked up at the stars and wondered about our place in the universe, this movie's for you. And if you haven't seen it, go get 'em, Tiger, and go watch Interstellar. And prepare to have your mind and your heart blown into another dimension. Peter. Wow.